Welcome you all to the technical session. The theme for the session is Paradigm Shift in Marketing Ecosystem. We have a distinguished panel comprising of Dr. S. Neelamegham, former Dean FMS, the chairperson for the session, Mr. Kapil Gupta, CEO, OM Logic, Mr. Vaibhav Agarwal, CEO, Blade Brains, Mr. Hargun Singh, CEO, Syrup Technologies, Mr. Rajiv Madan, Director, Entera IT Solutions, and Mr. Ritesh Singh, Director, Starcom Media. I request all the eminent speakers for this session to kindly grace the dais. I also request Swati Nigam to escort the panel members. It is an honor to welcome Dr. S. Neelamegham, former Dean, Faculty of Management Studies, University of Delhi, the chairperson for the session. He is the co-founder of the Academy of Indian Marketing and chairman of the Center for Entrepreneurship and Career-Oriented Programs, University of Delhi. Educated at the Stanford University, USA, Dr. Neelamegham has vast and varied experience in teaching, research and consultancy in several countries. He was instrumental in setting up the School of Business Studies at the University of Zambia, of which he was the founder dean. He has a rich experience as a consultant to UNDP, ADP, Economic Commission Africa, Asian Productivity Organization, Commonwealth Secretariat, apart from being on the board of several well-known companies in India. He has authored numerous publications, and his current areas of interest include global competitiveness, strategic alliances, and changing face of Indian marketing. We welcome you, sir. May I now call upon Ankur Vadia to present a token of our respect and appreciation to Dr. S. Neelamegham. Thank you, Ankur. It is an honor to welcome Mr. Kapil Gupta, founder and CEO of OM Logic Consulting, one of India's leading online and social media agency. Starting his career at IBM as a part of their premier leadership program in supply chain management, Mr. Gupta spent over 6 years in IT and supply chain management and held numerous leadership positions in the same. As an integral part of OM Logic, he heads online strategy and implementation for various multinational customers across numerous verticals. He is also the co-founder of OM Careers, world's first online marketing careers community, and was one of the key persons behind OMCAR 2012 Online Marketing Careers Conference and Expo. We welcome you, sir. I now call upon Debashish Paul to present a token of our respect and appreciation to Mr. Kapil Gupta. Thank you, Debashish. I now take the honor to introduce Mr. Vaibhav Agarwal, Principal Consultant and CEO, Blade Brains. Mr. Agarwal has had a rich experience with the industry for over a decade now. He has worked with various renowned names like Bharti Airtel, Shyam Telelink Limited, and Reliance ADAG Group Company. Under the ownership and guidance of Mr. Agarwal, Mobile Tele Solutions has grown leaps and bounds and bagged many laurels. An advertising-based mobile SMS-integrated consulting solutions provider, Mobile Tele Solutions was nominated in the top 50 most innovative companies in the world on the Wireless Platform 2010. We welcome you, sir. I now request Nidhi Garg to present a token of our respect and appreciation to Mr. Vaibhav Agarwal. Thank you, Nidhi. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce Mr. Hargun Singh. Having a rich experience of over 9 years, Mr. Singh has spearheaded business processes for companies like Quasar Media and Access Technology. During his tenure as business head with Quasar Media, Mr. Singh handled key accounts like PepsiCo India, where he single-handedly drove the digital launch and promotion for Mirinda Sorbet and the Mountain Dew campaign. Currently heading business development at Syrup Technologies, Mr. Singh strives to take his entrepreneurial venture to new heights in the internet industry by constantly evolving in terms of products and services offered in technology, advertising and brand building space. We welcome you, sir. I now request Swati Nigam to present a token of our respect and appreciation to Mr. Hargun Singh. Thank you, Swati. I now take the honor to welcome Mr. Rajiv Madan, Director, Entera IT Solutions. He has been in the industry for more than 2 decades, during which he has worked at senior positions in OSS India, Prakriti Tech Systems Limited, HCL Pero Systems, and Network Programs India Limited, headquartered in New Jersey, USA. During his illustrious career, he worked in areas related to vendor management, business development, project scheduling, and software training, to name a few. We welcome you, sir. I now request Ina Chauhan to present a token of our respect and appreciation to Mr. Rajiv Madan. Thank you, Ina. I would now take the opportunity to welcome Mr. Ritesh Singh. Having over 11 years of experience, Mr. Singh has distinguished himself in the field of marketing. At SMG India, in the past 6 years, Mr. Singh worked with Expanse, small town and rural marketing outfit of SMG, and SMG Digital. These vastly different ends gave him an in-depth understanding and knowledge of Indian consumers. In his current role as the business head India, SMG Digital, he has been steady in learning, co-learning, and imparting digital knowledge. He is also a part of the Digital Global Media Group clients and also designing and implementing digital practices across the globe. We welcome you, sir. I now request Pankaj Kalia to present a token of our respect and appreciation to Mr. Ritesh Singh. Thank you, Pankaj. I would now request Dr. Neela Megham to chair the session. Please, sir.
Dear friends, it's a very great pleasure to chair this session. Especially, I am very thankful to Professor Sinha, Professor Sharma, Professor Jain, and others who have invited me for an interaction with you. But the question is, I have a very powerful panel with me, and each one of them has got so much of experience. I think it is natural that they should be given preference to make their presentations. And afterwards I will give, of course, my concluding remarks. But one thing is there, as we heard in the morning also, the role, the nature and the scope of marketing have undergone a metamorphic change over a period of years. But even in India, for example, because I have been witnessing the developments in the field of marketing for several decades. In fact, right from the time some of you might not have been born, even at that time, I was interacting with the people. But how the paradigm shift has taken place is fantastic. And it is a tremendous excitement because age of revolution. Today there is an age of revolution, because technology is making impact in everything we do. The cost of storing a megabyte chips has become nothing. Bandwidth has become a cheap commodity. And decoding a human gene costs less than $100 today. So the whole process of evolution is discontinuous, ubiquitous, and several companies which are doing extremely well, they have disappeared. And whereas new companies have taken the opportunity to come up. So tremendous development is taking place. In this context, the digital marketing has made a very great inroad into the field of marketing. How do we react to that? What are the developments that are taking place? How do we succeed in making digital marketing a success? What are the problems and challenges we face? I'm sure these are the aspects on which our very extremely experienced and also enlightened speakers, they will throw their light, and afterwards I'll give my comments. So with this brief introduction, may I request Mr. Gupta to start?
Okay, I have a presentation. Good afternoon, everybody. Before I start, let me ask a question. How many of you guys follow cricket? A good 50%. How many of you guys watched the World Cup final last year? More than the people who follow cricket watched the World Cup final. Absolutely. Do you guys know which was the most talked about thing at the end of the World Cup final? Any guesses? Was it Tendulkar? Was it Dhoni? Was it the World Cup itself? Any guesses? Gambhir, Dhoni. Anybody else? World Cup replica. 6. Sachin. Poonam Pandey. Absolutely. Absolutely. Nobody wanted to know what Dhoni did. Nobody wanted to know what Gambhir did. Nobody was interested in Tendulkar winning the World Cup. Actually, Poonam Pandey. So, when you guys talk about paradigm shift in marketing, that's paradigm shift in marketing. You had a World Cup final. 11 players, 22 players got into the field. 11 won the World Cup. It was the dream of the entire nation fulfilled. And all everybody could talk about on Twitter is, why is Poonam Pandey not dancing naked? Right? With that, let me start off. I will talk about some more of these. Before that, let me give you a little bit of introduction and tell you why I am here. I run OM Logic Consulting. We are one of the largest social media agencies in the country, and we help brands implement social media as a tool of engagement and conversation for their clients. For example, so when Mr. Kalsi in the morning talked about the rich community or talked about what Maruti is doing from a social media perspective, we in the back end are normally the agency that will be managing it on behalf of those brands. Do you guys know all of these 8? Ravan, the movie, the World Cup. Do you guys know who is that female right here? Yeah. Sunny Deol. Absolutely. Baba Ramdev. Now, why do I have these 8 people here, including Kapil Sibal? Anyone? These are the 8 most talked about topics in India in 2011 on social media. See, I have kept Baba Ramdev as well as Anna Hazare in the same panel here. One of them being successful, one of them being unsuccessful. And unsuccessful, I'm only talking about marketing here. I'm not talking about their campaign. I'm not talking about what they were able to achieve or not achieve. From a pure marketing standpoint, these are the 8 people who were talked about in the social media world. We all know how Kapil Sibal was talked about. Let's not get into that one. But these were 8 people who were talked about. The question that we need to look at is, why is that the case? When we say paradigm shift in marketing and when we say social media has changed the rules of the game, what has actually changed? Anyone? What has social done which is so fundamentally different than what was happening out before that?
Viral marketing.
Viral marketing. Well, that's a term that I sell my customers. That's not fair enough. Visibility. Voice of every person. Awareness.
Engagement.
Speed at which news is created. Let's look at some of these. Can we go forward? Oh, perfect. Okay, Kolaveri D. How many of you guys have heard the song? Everyone. How many of you guys think this was the best ever made Tamil song? Well, best ever made English song. Anyone? Nobody? Nobody thinks it was the best ever made song, and it got 33 million views on YouTube in 56 days. It was the biggest hit of 2011, you guys know that, right? But nobody thinks, okay, anybody thinks it was the best song of 2011? Anybody thinks it is the best Dhanush can ever do? Okay, at least two people think it's the best Dhanush can ever do. We'll live with that. Okay, it became the single of year on BBC Radio. Can you go to the next one? Anna Hazare. How many of you guys went to Ramlila Maidan? 5, 4. I asked this question in a college in Bhiwani. I got more responses. You guys need to let them go out more often. Anyway, I didn't go. I was not interested in the campaign. But Facebook profile pic of the year. I mean, this guy became famous on social media. Purely social media. Of course, he's been a freedom fighter. Of course, he's somebody who has a lot of credibility attached to him. But the only reason he became so famous is because he drove social media. Can you go to the next one? 3.6 lakh likes on Facebook between August 14th to August 27th. Can you go forward? How many of you guys have seen the Har Friend Zaruri jingle? How many of you like it? How many of you hate it? Just 1%. Okay, fair enough. It's a good, very good marketing campaign. Do you think it's the best ever marketing campaign Airtel has ever done? One of the best. Do you know how much money was spent on this campaign? Go forward. I want to make a point on that. Airtel right now is selling merchandise on Har Friend Zaruri campaign. So let me give you a story. When Airtel began this campaign, the thought was Airtel in the last 12, 13 years of them doing good marketing campaigns has had all failed disastrous marketing campaigns. So Airtel started off this campaign, JWT was signed up as the agency, it was a new agency brought on board, and they came up with this concept of Har Friend Zaruri, and they said we'll do a campaign. Airtel, like all other marketing campaigns, was 100% sure it's going to be a disastrous campaign. But you know, they had budget, they put some small amount of money on that, and suddenly it became the rage of the town. Everybody was talking about it. I have personally been involved in frenetic meetings with Airtel where they were talking about how do we release the merchandise in a week. We have been told by our managing directors we will be fired if it doesn't get released in a week. That's the rage. That's how famous the campaign suddenly became. Go to the next chart, please. How many of you guys saw Airtel changed its logo almost 18 months back? Everybody know about it. How many of you guys liked the new logo? How many of you guys liked the campaign that was done around that? No one. Does anybody remember the campaign? Nobody remembers the campaign? Okay. Go to the next one. Go to the previous one. Airtel spent 300 crores on this campaign. 300 crores. I can tell you that was 10 times more. Actually, more than 10 times more than the entire budget of Har Friend Zaruri campaign. All of you guys have heard of that one. Nobody has heard of the Airtel rebranding. The only remembrance I have of the Airtel rebranding campaign is the next chart. This is all that became famous. You take the logo of Videocon, you take the concept and color of Vodafone, and you combine them together and you come up with a new Airtel logo. That is social media for you. Back in the old days, and I say old by my standards, I'm only 33. Back in the old days, Navratan Tel would want to do a marketing campaign. They will know, they will be sure. You sign up Amitabh Bachchan, you spend 2 crore rupees on the entire marketing campaign, you will get guaranteed sales of 10 crore rupees at least. Of course, Navratan Tel through Amitabh got 50 crore plus, but 10 crore plus guaranteed. The problem, the world that we live in means not sure. You can spend 300 crores on the rebranding of Airtel and get nothing. You can spend nothing, actually I wouldn't say nothing. You can spend a very minor budget on a Kolaveri D marketing. Kolaveri D did do marketing, by the way. It's not like they didn't do any marketing. They pulled right plugs into the social environment for them to become famous on Twitter. They did connect with celebrities, did some paid tweeting, did a lot of other activities, but you put a very minor budget and you become as famous as Kolaveri D. Guess what? As a social media agency, what do my customers want? Do they want the failed Airtel campaign or do they want the Kolaveri D campaign? Kolaveri D. How many such Kolaveri D campaigns can I deliver in a year? Any guesses? Zero. There are probably 100 marketing agents, social media marketing agencies in the country. If I combine all the small ones and everything together, and I want to look at companies that combining everything together, companies of my size and what we do, there are probably 100 of us. There will be one Kolaveri D that will happen in 2012. So I have 1% chance of delivering one such campaign to one of my customers in the entire year. My customer wants every campaign to be Kolaveri D. That's marketing. So when Mr. Shastri in the morning talked about the fourth dimension, we all know how difficult. How many of you guys are science students here? Oh, a lot. Okay, so you guys know what I'm talking about. We know how difficult it is to compare, measure and work around the three dimensions. Guess what? This fourth dimension is going to add an unending series of complexity for everybody. I'm not just talking about people who are doing marketing. I'm talking about people who are doing HR. I'm talking about people who are in operations. I'm talking about people who are doing manufacturing. Everybody is going to be in a tizzy, in a situation where they need to think about what to do next when this social media completely unfolds. It hasn't unfolded yet. Go to the next one. So, what I say is we live in a fickle society. We don't know what is going to happen with people. We don't know what is going to be successful and or unsuccessful as we go forward in terms of marketing campaigns. None of us do. I can tell you, I can hire the best marketing brains in the world, come up with the best ever campaign. I can star Shah Rukh Khan in the campaign, or I can star Poonam Pandey, or I can star Sunny Leon, or I can star Salman Khan or Sachin Tendulkar in the campaign. I don't know if the product will be successful or not. Because do you know who makes the product successful these days? It's we guys. It's what we say about the product, what social media has done, how it has revolutionized everything. Is people now don't like to listen to what Tendulkar says. People don't like to listen to what Shah Rukh says. Everybody knows Shah Rukh doesn't drive an I-20. Everybody knows that. I can be somebody who drives an I-20. Who do you want to listen to about I-20? From me who drives an I-20 or from Shah Rukh Khan? Guess what? Right now, I have a mouthpiece. I have a loudspeaker which is loud enough that I can reach out to you. 10 years back, not possible. That is what has changed marketing. That is what we call as paradigm shift in marketing that is happening across the globe. In India, more so than any other place in the world. Go to the next one. So, what do? It's a fickle society. Brands want this from every campaign. I should not get anything said bad about my campaign. I should not get anybody looking at anything bad about my campaign. I should not get anybody hearing bad about my campaign. Doable? Oh, absolutely not. Let me give you an example. I was working with a liquor brand recently, and the liquor brand wanted to do a campaign saying what will be an interesting. It's a can, beer can. For sake of clarity, it's a beer can. They say, please do a campaign where people will tell us what are most interesting uses of that can that can be done. How many of you guys? So, do you guys understand what I'm talking about? You have a can. How can you interestingly use that can in your everyday life? Anyone? If I was to do this campaign, what will you guys say?
A pen holder.
A pen holder. What was that?
An ashtray.
An ashtray. Anybody else? A piggy bank. Wow, you guys are educated and you guys are very smart. Let me tell you the two uses I told them. I said I will take it to the loo and use it as a water bucket for me. Number two, I will keep it in the car with me because when I am driving I can't find a restroom, I will use it. Oh by the way, this is not my views. If I run this campaign on social, I can promise you this is what people will say. Do you think brand wants to do that campaign? Do you think brand will ever want to get into a world where people talk about their reputed, prestigious premium can like that? No, Airtel asked me once, why don't you do a campaign which says interesting uses of Airtel? I said, I will use the Airtel wire. मेरे घर में कपड़े सुखाने की प्रॉब्लम होती है, मैं उस तार पे टांग दूंगा. This is how people think. This is marketing these days. So it's not just, so don't look at social media as something which has given brands this power of getting in touch with people. Oh, social media is the biggest headache for brands right now. The biggest headache. Let me give you guys an interesting story. Do you guys know America Online? Okay. America Online, 6 years back, I was when I used to live in the US, there was this guy, Vincent Carter. He wanted to disconnect his his AOL ISP. He called up AOL and he knew AOL is very bad. They will not disconnect it. They will go to whatever extent to ensure you keep your account running. So this guy called up AOL and he said, I want to disconnect. AOL said, why do you want to disconnect? He said, because I don't use it. They said, but we are looking at your account. There was usage in the last 30 days. He said, but I haven't used it in 3 months. He said, no, there was usage. So this guy says, no, I want to disconnect. And I want to cancel my contract. And these guys said, no sir, can you look at this, can you look at this, can you look at this? This guy kept saying, I want to cancel my contract. They won't listen. They just won't listen. At some point, one of the guy on the other line said, can I talk to your father? This guy said, I'm 34-year-old. What exactly do you want to talk to my father about? Anyway, this went on. There was a 5-minute phone call. What this guy did, he posted it on YouTube. He just posted that video on YouTube. End result was the President of America Online on primetime television on all important television networks, news networks across the US came on and apologized on behalf of his customer service people, saying this is not our policy, and it was probably some bad customer service person, and said we are changing our policy and this is never going to happen again. And of course, America Online did go out and they did change their policy. So social media is a major hassle for brands these days. The result. So we talked about in the morning, social media is about brand engagement and conversations. You know what that has done? That has made all of us socially desperate. How many of you guys are on Facebook, by the way? How many of you follow at least 2 brands on Facebook? Have liked at least 2 pages on Facebook? Okay, a good chunk of people. How many of you have participated in at least one contest on any of those pages? Why do you participate in those contests? You get recognition. Anybody else? Why do you participate? What's that? To win. No, but winning meaning you just participate to win, or you want to win something? Win something. Anybody else? Anybody just participate in contests because they want to participate? Not because they will win or not because they will get an award from the brand? Nobody. Nobody. Is it not socially desperate for brands to come out and say, I will give you this goodie, that goodie, and this and that if you participate in my contest? Is it not? Okay. Go to the next one. This is what brands do these days. Engagement के लिए कुछ भी करेगा. Anything and everything is allowed on Facebook. Did you guys see how many brands talked about Sachin Tendulkar yesterday? Was there any page that you guys followed that did not mention Sachin Tendulkar yesterday? Nobody? Did you guys see any brand talking about Sachin Tendulkar and his century in relation to their brand? No one. So why are these brands talking about Sachin? Yeah, but what are they cashing in on? A few eyeballs which are not going to care about their brand because the brand is not mentioned? Not really. You get the feed in your post, you won't explore it. Anyway, but brands don't care, are just going out because people don't understand this game of social media. Brands are just going out and talking whatever. There is no relation to the brand when they go have those engaging conversations. Go to the next one. This is what the name of the game is. Join my community, I'm fun. Talk to me, please. See, my status deserves a standing ovation. But lazy people out here just click like button. Then there are lazier people also. How desperate can it get? Go to the next one. Okay, here was a post. And interestingly, this post was done by a social media company. LinkedIn post defined. Here is how to use them effectively for your brand. And this is a page which had 20,000 fans at the time. 20,000 Facebook fans. Out of the 20,000 Facebook fans, 9 people liked the post. Nobody commented, 9 people liked the post. The page went out and said, "Thank you for liking the post. Did you find it useful?" Excuse me? In a 20,000 people page, 8 people liked, nobody commented, and you are asking what did they find useful? Something must be missing here. Go ahead. I'll pay if you do. True engagement. We did this application, let me spend a couple of minutes on this. We did this application last year. There was James Bond festival. HBO over an entire month was showing James Bond movies at 11 o'clock every night. And we did a campaign and we said, you know what, we will not give any goodies or anything for the campaign. We will just want to focus purely on engagement. We said, hey, Bond has already been done. Everybody talks about Bond. Why don't we talk about Bond girls? So the theme we made was Bond girls. We came up with this particular application. We put up a girl there. Of course, we couldn't use the actual Bond girl pictures because there is a lot of copyright issues. We put up interesting pictures. You could select 5 different faces. You could select her hairs. You could select her shades. You could select her dress, her style quotient. Now, style quotient, it's a Bond girl. Her style quotient was she could have a martini. She could have a lipstick. She could have a small purse. She could have a cigar. She could have a gun. And her shoes. We kept everything from a bikini to a long dress to a sneaker and a skirt and everything. All kinds of possibilities. Amazing response. Now, people wanted to dress up the Bond girl and think about and talk about the Bond festival. They wanted to not just win a goodie. This is how you do campaigning. This is how you engage and this is how you relate to various brands in the social media world. Go ahead. Authenticity and transparency. No, I always tell brands, if you want to go in social, ensure you know what it means. Don't just go in social because you want to go and you want to just talk about your brand and all the good things you do. People will come up with bad stuff. You know, travel companies are a perfect example. Do you know how many times travel gets goofed up? Every time it gets goofed up, somebody will come up and complain. If as a brand, you are not willing to listen to what people will talk bad about you, better not be on social. Better not be there at all. With that, let me change gears. Now, I talked about social media for brands. I talked about what is it that brands can do. My question to students out here, what can you guys do in social media? How many of you guys are placed already? Those in 4th year who are placed already? What's that? Oh, these are first year students. Okay. How many of you guys think the college will surely be able to get you a job? How many of you guys think college may not be able to get you a job? Nobody? Wow, placements here should be very nice. But let me ask a question. What do you guys think? What are you guys going to do to get yourself placed better? Anything? Anything? Are you guys going to do anything other than getting better grades to get yourself placed better? What would you do?
I'd like to connect more with people. That's the main thing.
Okay. How will you connect with more people?
Branch out, LinkedIn, so many sites.
Yep. So, a message that I want to leave all of you guys with. We talked about social for brands. We talked about social, about how people or brands and companies are using it, good, bad, in all different ways. What I want to leave you guys with is think about what social can give you guys as students. You know, I go for interviewing people and I don't have any means of distinguishing between one candidate and the other. You know, your grades don't tell me anything. I graduated from Delhi College of Engineering 15 years back. I can tell you, the person who graduated, actually, the person who did not graduate with me when I graduated engineering because he has 17 supplies when I graduated, is a guy who runs a 200 crore business today. He is, and I can say it with great pride. He is one of the smartest guys that I have ever known. When I graduated, he had 17 supplies. And I can't, in this open forum, I can't even talk about what he did to pass those 17 supplies. Okay? But, you know, your grades don't tell me anything. So as a business owner, as a potential employer, when I come in, how do I distinguish between one student and the other? So the thought that I want to leave you guys with is think about all the things that you can do using social media to make yourself more prominently available to the employers or companies or organizations or HR people who are going to come to the campus to hire you. How can you make your Facebook, your Twitter, your LinkedIn, your YouTube, your SlideShare, your various social media profiles more active, more prolific and more proficient so that companies when they come in get more information and they can distinguish between you versus any other student. Okay, talk about your projects, ensure. So let me give you guys an interesting story. I went to a school reunion, not even a college. I went to a school reunion in the month of October. I got drunk like crazy. Okay, it was a school reunion. I mean, people that I met like 15 years later. I mean, I got drunk. We had a bet during that reunion, and in one of the bets, the result was I had to take my shirt off. Well, school reunion, why do I care? I took my shirt off and I was moving around without topless for almost half an hour. Next day I walk into my office and there are 35 faces who are looking funnily at me. I'm saying, what happened here? And then I realized I didn't, but somebody else put my picture on Facebook and tagged it. So, a very interesting thing that I recently read. You know, I don't know what books my dad read. I don't know what novels or what did he do in his college life. I don't know how many times he did something good or something bad. I don't know anything about his life when he was young. At least there is no documented proof of anything that he did or did not do in his life. I just have to take his word for whatever he says. Now, in the world that you guys live in, when you grow old, there will be a documented proof of everything that you guys have ever done. So, I know people keep talking about all of these privacy issues and all of these concerns and all of these problems and everything around social media, is it good or bad? Here is an interesting thought. If social media, if Facebook timeline is a reason for me to do 2 good things in my life that I would not have done otherwise, or for me not to do 2 bad things in my life that I would have done otherwise, isn't it all worth it? Think about that. So next time you guys are doing anything, just think about this. Whatever you are doing is most probably going to end up on a Facebook, on a Twitter, on a YouTube, or some place of significance, and you know what? It will live there forever. A news article published about you in a newspaper will not. A television series published about you will not. A Facebook status update will live there forever. So any action, whatever you guys do in your career, in your life, in things around you, just remember this. And from that perspective, think about what is it from a marketing standpoint, what is it from a fundamental, it's not a marketing question really. we're talking about, the topic today is paradigm shift in marketing ecosystem. But it is paradigm shift in our lives and how we relate to each other. And what do we guys do, and how do we interact, and how do we engage, and who do we know? Have you guys ever heard the phrase strength of weak ties? Anyone? There is a principle, it is very commonly used in recruitments, at least, but it's a generic principle used everywhere. The strength of weak ties. Okay. There are people that you know directly. Does anybody think here their brother is going to get them a job? No. Does anybody think their cousin might be able to get them a job because he thinks you are intelligent? So the strength of weak ties is a philosophy which says your brother is not going to help you get a job because he knows all the dirty secrets about your life. He knows how late you will get up in the morning. He knows how you will want to bunk college. He knows how you will want to loaf around. He knows how you will always be chatting on Skype or Gtalk or BBM or WhatsApp or whatever, or Facebook or Twitter or what have you. The person who will get you a job, the person who will interact and will be important in your life is not your direct contact, not your brother, but somebody second level from that or somebody third level from that. That's called the strength of weak ties. So think about Facebook or social media as an environment has given you an opportunity to keep connected with all of those. So use that. With that, I'm gonna stop here. If there are any questions, I'll be more than happy to take them. Perfect. So yeah, actually that's good. I think we have run out of time. So we'll keep the questions for later. Thanks a lot, everybody. It's been great coming here. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I'd like to thank the chairman. I would like to thank the director, Professor Jain, for giving me this opportunity to interact with the young students like you. The previous speaker spoke a lot about the social marketing, etc., and made the speech so interesting. I hope I'll try to do the same efforts out here. Not talking about the social media, but overall talking about internet. I'm going to talk about the trends. So you have to bear me out. I'll start with some past, some present, and then future, right? Just to give you the holistic. Can you start? Alright, so till the time they talk about the things, of course I'll start with the very basic stuff. Of course everybody knows what the internet is. It's basically interconnection of millions of computers connected together to fetch information from various angles. Okay? By the way, has anyone heard of what you call extranet? Can anybody answer this? I'm going to start with basic fundamentals and then approach afterwards. Anybody knows about extranet? Intranet? Can anybody say, talk? I can't hear. Intranet is something which allows the people within an organization, can you go to the next slide please, to share information, share data and various other information which is required for their day-to-day working. What is extranet? Why is internet becoming so popular? Why it is gaining so much of momentum? That it also allows you to connect with the external community with the features what you like them to see on, That's called something called extranet. And when we talk about one of the portals which we have developed, I'm going to talk about it. Then I'm going to talk about how suppliers and partners get connected to the internal network using extranet. Go to the next slide, please. Well, everybody has heard about Amazon. What is so particular about Amazon? Why it became so popular? Anybody? What was the reason? It was one of the very first retail companies, e-commerce companies, started by Jeff in 1994, and basically it allowed people to select books they wanted, about 1.1 million titles, and it was a convenience. You can go anytime, shop. You don't have to wait for the timings. Just get hooked onto the internet and start doing your purchasing. Price was, of course, on discounted, whatever you wanted. And of course, the service, you can track your orders, you can book your orders, and you can see when it's going to be delivered. So this is a complete transparency. So essentially, this is one of the important features of what the internet offers to all of us. And if I compare Amazon, the drastic growth it had from 1996 to 2000, I can see the revenues growing from $15.6 million to $2.7 billion, which is a huge, huge figures. And earnings going from $6.24 million to $1.4 billion. So this is a massive growth actually. Why do we talk about the e-commerce? Why it became so popular? It has certain basic fundamental features. One of them happens to be ubiquitous. Of course, everybody knows. Global reach, operates according to the various standards, provides information richness. It is interactive, which is what we are talking about. To engage with the customer, whenever you're talking about marketing, it's not one-way communication, it has to be two-way communications. Then it increases information density and you can personalize the messages the way you feel the best. That's more important than anything else. Gone are the days when people talk about the mass marketing, people talk about target marketing, people talk about personalized marketing, and internet helps in achieving that pretty fast. Well, you all have heard about various type of e-commerce transactions. Everybody knows about B2C, right? B2B. Has anyone heard about C2C? What is consumer to consumer? Can anybody answer? Well, word of mouth, of course. That's kind of a not called consumer to consumer, to be very frank. Yes, please. Absolutely, like eBay. So let's go to the next slide and understand the basic fundamentals. What are the different type of opportunities, transactions, business models which basically got originated because of this. B2C is basically, obviously everybody knows, I don't have to waste time out here. B2B, of course, it allows various businesses to get connected together, distributors, suppliers, partners, and everybody. C2C is like ebay.com, one of the students said, which is great, which allows various consumers to be connected with each other, of course, using ebay.com as a marketplace. And it also allows you, the ebay.com also allows you to do some kind of a search facility, doing your transaction conveniently and so on, What is peer-to-peer? Which all of you must be using, sharing anything without involving the marketplace or the market maker. Which means you can peer-to-peer share your information, sharing music or anything. So which is a great phenomenon to happen actually. You don't have to involve anybody. I have an information I can share with anybody else, my peer, my friends, and anybody else. Commerce I'm going to talk about later. So, interestingly, everybody's talking about the mobile commerce nowadays. I remember those days when in 2000, 2001, when the mobility has just originated. Do you know what is GSM? Anybody who doesn't know about GSM? What was the network which was set up in the country somewhere in 1999 to 2000? It was GSM. And what was the speed, by the way? Anybody, any guesses? You'll be surprised. The speed was very, very low. About the data speed was of the order of 300 kbps. Now, just keep on. No, go to the previous slide. Now, at that time, there were no PDS available, and people still wanted to do transactions. There was something called WAP. Has anybody heard of WAP? Yes, sir. What is that? No, it was called wait and pay protocol. The reason being because it was so slow that people were connected and they were still connected and paying their money, meant not getting the information. So whole thing got revamped after a lot of the network change happened. There were 2.5G network which was of the order of 1 Mbps, whereas in our country still it is much less than 3G, now 4G is coming and so on and so on. It has brought revolution in the entire space, which means you can exchange any information, digital information, video information, etc. in no times, And that has changed the complete scenario. That is what is called change in paradigm. Next one, please. Well, if you look at the growth of the web content, I see the trend again, 1999 to 2001, I got some data to share with you. The number of pages which are visited was less than about 1 billion to it rose to up to 4.2 billion, which is a huge number of pages visited by the people and shows the growth of the people who are using internet. Next one, please. Again, in terms of revenue, it's about $270 billion of the B2C if you look at this, which is again a huge growth. B2B, absolutely. This tells us that not only the consumer market, but also the businesses embrace internet with a great enthusiasm, which means that people wanted to do a lot of transaction in an automated fashion. I'm going to talk about some of the applications which got originated after the intranet and extranet kind of infrastructures were well established in the country. Well, guys, for your benefits, I would like to say, I don't know how many of you have really heard of two phases in internet or e-commerce or e-commerce 1 and e-commerce 2. Can anybody tell me what was the basic difference, although everything is written out here? What was the difference between the two? E-commerce 1 and e-commerce 2. Did you guys hear about something called .com burst? You're all aware of it. Why did the entire thing burst? Why did the bubble burst? What was the reason? Technology was so innovative, everything, it has so many advantages, but still it didn't lead to success. There are so many companies who went opened large number of things. They tried experimenting everything. They said we are going to talk about something called perfect market, no intermediaries, and everybody can access. But still, the companies did not succeed. So there was an era from 1995 to 2000. What was e-commerce? And let's go to the next slide. Thereafter, it was consolidation phase, and I have summarized it in two parts. E-commerce was having less focus on the business, more on the technology. People are talking, well, we are going to come out with this technology. Well, technology doesn't fetch business. It's a consumer. It's a consumer services which fetch you business. Venture capitalist funding was happening, and perfect market concept which never exists in the real life. But thereafter, people said, well, this is not going to exist. People started talking the business-driven approach, traditional financing, imperfect markets, and of course brand plays a very important role. You can never have a perfect markets, and strategic follows stencil. Well, this is just a data for you, for your eyes. Well, somewhere in 2001 the data was collected, and Amazon.com was one of the top retailers, and a lot of them like Pierce, JCPenney, they emerged out to be doing a lot of business using internet as a backbone. Where can I use the e-commerce? Can I use it in one area, in education, sociology, marketing, management, information system? Well, initially when it started, people had a very limited vision about it. Well, we'll be using it only for this particular area. But today people have realized, people are talking about e-governance, people are talking about e-marketing, internet marketing. So everything is going to be driven through the internet. That's the kind of growth people are talking about. Well, when Internet 2 was formed, the goal was that we should have created a network. It was a basically consortium of various companies, universities, colleges, and institutions to come out with something called Internet 2, which provides advantages in terms of speed, reliability, and low errors. This is very, very important for you to do the transaction. Nobody would like to do the transaction in which if I have transferred half the data, it fails in between. So it was very, very important to ensure that when people are using internet as a business tool, it should be completely reliable. I don't know how many of you really read the articles, Turn Your Copper into Gold. I don't know how many of you really heard about these articles. That was a time people were really talking about the techniques to make your internet a reliable one. After that, I'm going to talk about GPRS and wireless markup language, which I talked about. When the GPRS came into the country, that was somewhere in 2003. I'm talking with respect to India. That was the time when the revolution began. That was the time people started talking about the applications. Before that, people were really confused whether to go for serious applications or not. And by the way, the cost of the handset also went down. Today, if you go to the market and buy a Nokia handset, you can still get a good Nokia handset which runs all your application, maybe in the tune of 3,000 to 4,000 rupees, which is quite okay. Unless and until you are going for some application which require huge screen size and so on. Go to the next slide, please. I want to restrict myself to the timings and I want to give you some big good trends in the internet space. So I'll just go down. So I hope I'm not exceeding time. Basically, these are the kind of servers which you have. You have database servers. He was talking about the data. It's very, very important to gather data about the customer. You have ad server to basically have online advertisements, which has been basically now coming onto the mobile phones. Mail servers, video server. Next slide. Next slide. Email, everybody know this was a killer application and came out as one of the important application of the internet came up. Search engines, everybody knows, so I don't have to spend time. Chatting, Skype, everybody does it. Streaming media. How many of you have really used the streaming application? Can you raise your hands? What is a streaming application? Yes, sir. Well, that's not streaming. Can somebody else define it? Yes.
Watching movies online.
So it's watching movies online, having some speed, audio and video, going on the media in the real time, which means I definitely have to have a huge bandwidth so that I can stream the entire content in the real time. Cookies, everybody knows. This helps you to store information about the user so that next time when you view it, you can personalize the contents actually. Next one, please. How many of you have really talked about voice over IP? Do you know what is voice over IP? Of course, Skype is a very good example. Why it became popular? What was the advantage of having voice over IP when you were using a traditional telephonic system? It became cheaper. So with a good bandwidth, with the internet coming up so fast, people started talking about the IP telephony, which was a revolution again the telecommunication. Before that, you were all talking about the class 5 switches. Digital libraries, there are a lot of application service providers coming up with huge applications. You don't even have to buy anything. Just get hooked onto the internet, go to the application service provider. One of the good examples is Salesforce.com. You want to use a CRM for your organization, you don't have to buy it. You just subscribe for it, go to the ASP and you're on to this one. Next one, please. So this is a telephony, again, in terms of minutes usage. Go to the next slide. Well, in the education, it's very important to talk about distance learning. There are a lot of universities which have introduced programs on distance learning. The lecture is happening in some country, in maybe in US or something, and students are getting the benefits of it as if there's a lecture going on the same space. Video teleconferencing, digital video, these are some of the very important benefits which people are getting in terms of various applications in education industry and various industries. Next one, I can skip that because I want to talk about something, just skip that time. By the way, if there's any typical e-commerce application, first of all, what do you start with? You start with a basic, simple client, computer. It could be Windows, it could be Apple Macintosh. And thereafter you get connected to your ISP, go to the application, to the web server, and there's a logistics, order the things online. It comes to your space using the logistic, gets delivered within 2-3 days, 3 days time or 4 days time. It becomes pretty fast, So you don't have to go anywhere, just search your product, go online, order it, and within few days you get to your specified address. I am talking about one of the application portal which we designed and presented in one of the international conferences. This application portal was designed somewhere in 2005, which allowed people. Today we are talking about the organizations. There are organizations, when I remember I started my career in 1985-86, the organization was not that global in nature. Today we have HR sitting in one country, we have employees spread all over the world, which is a culture in MNC organization. I am a new employee, join an organization, I don't know anything about the company. My HR is not there, so what do? I am absolutely ignorant. So what I do is, I am given an account, I log into the account, I know I can view everything. There's something, go to the next slide. I can see my HR policy, I can see my organization structure, I can see my department, I can see my department head, etc. At the same time, I want to use some knowledge within the organization, with my colleagues. How do I use that knowledge? I am sitting in India, somebody sitting in Europe. So it's very difficult. So people started talking about something called collaborative tools of knowledge sharing. Net meeting is one of them. And there are several tools which originated, which allow people to exchange information using these tools actually. That's called collaborative tools. So we designed a complete portal which consisted of an employee joining the organization to be able to understand the organization and to be able to share the knowledge within the organization using collaborative tools. Similarly, the suppliers, partners, they would also like to participate and they would also like to be connected online. So this particular portal allowed suppliers, partners also to be connected using extranet. Okay. So I think these are some of the features. I think we take me to the other slide, which I wanted to spend 5 minutes on because I want to share with you how industry has grown from e-commerce to m-commerce. I am going to talk specifically about the m-commerce industry. We have done some research about the healthcare industry in US, and I've gathered some data about the trends of the healthcare industry. Go to the next.